Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat pennies coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. So today, let's go deep into the world of the 1937 wheat penny. We're going to talk about what makes this coin rare, why collectors chase it, and which mistakes, or let's say, beautiful errors, made some of these coins worth way more than their face value. Sit back, and let's time travel to 1937. The year was intense. The world was still struggling after the Great Depression. Franklin D. Roosevelt was president, and the echoes of World War I still rang through American cities and minds. But through all that chaos, something simple, something tiny, was quietly dropped into millions of hands across the country. The humble 1937 Lincoln Wheat penny. This coin, made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, wasn't just currency, it was part of American daily life. It bought candy for kids, paid for milk and bread, and was tucked into the hands of soldiers, farmers, workers, and dreamers across all 48 states. At first glance, it doesn't look like anything special. But once you dive deeper, you'll realize why the 1937 wheat penny has become a small obsession in the numismatic world. Let's talk about its design. On the front of the coin, you see Abraham Lincoln's profile, proud, serious, and thoughtful, the same image introduced back in 1909 when the wheat penny was first minted. His eyes look forward, as if staring into the soul of history. Above him, the word liberty stands tall. To the right, the date, 1937. And just beneath the date, some of these coins bear a mint mark, either a small D for Denver or S for San Francisco. If there's no mint mark at all, that means it came from the Philadelphia Mint. Now flip the coin over. There, you'll see two stalks of wheat curving along the edges, one on the left, one on the right, wrapping around the bold words, 1 cent and United States of America. Above all that, it reads, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's more than just words, it's a message, a symbol of unity in a time when the country was still recovering, still trying to rebuild itself into something stronger. But what made the 1937 wheat penny truly special, is not just its design or its role in American hands, it's the mysteries within the coin itself. Now let's talk about rarity. First, the 1937 wheat penny isn't the rarest penny ever made. Millions were minted, no doubt. But here's where things get interesting. There were three major mints that year: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia made the most, over 309 million coins. Denver followed with around 50 million, and San Francisco with close to 34 million. So technically, 1937 wheat pennies are not ultra rare in general circulation, but the rare ones? The ones that make collectors go crazy, they come down to condition, mint errors, and extremely high-quality strikes. Let's break it down. If you find a 1937 wheat penny that's been handled, scratched, or worn out, it's still valuable to a collector who's building a complete set. But if you find one in excellent shape, almost untouched by time, now you're talking serious value. Coins that still show full wheat stalks on the back, crisp lettering, and strong detail in Lincoln's hair and cheek. Those are what collectors call mint state or uncirculated, and they're far more valuable than a coin that's been tossed around in a jar for decades. But here's where it gets even juicier: the errors. Yes, minting mistakes. And believe it or not, mistakes are where the money is. In 1937, the minting process wasn't perfect. Machines were fast, but humans were still involved. And anytime humans are involved, mistakes happen, and sometimes, those mistakes are beautiful. One of the most sought-after errors from 1937 is the double die. Imagine this: the coin die hits the blank planchet more than once, but slightly misaligned. That creates a doubling effect on the coin, usually noticeable in the date or the lettering. If you find a 1937 wheat penny where the date looks slightly doubled, especially around the 3 or the 7, hold on tight. You might be looking at a double die error, and collectors love those. Another famous error is the BIE error. Now this one's unique. This error appears between the B and E in the word liberty on the obverse side of the coin. A small vertical line, almost like a tiny I, sneaks its way in, making it look like Liberty. Why does this happen? Simple. A die crack. Over time, as the dies wore out, tiny cracks formed, and those cracks left marks on the coin. Some collectors hunt for BIE errors specifically because they're fun to find and pretty cool to show off. You may also come across off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or weak strikes that leave some areas of the coin barely visible. Each one is unique, and each one can increase a coin's value based on how rare and dramatic the error is. Now, if you're a collector, or just someone who wants to start their journey in coins, here's a tip for you: always look closely, use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Check the date, the mint mark, and all the letters for signs of doubling, cracks, or misprints. And never clean your coin, seriously. Even if it looks dirty, don't touch it with polish or chemicals. A cleaned coin loses value instantly. Collectors want originality, not shine. Also, store your coins properly. Use a coin flip or a 2x2 holder. Keep it dry, cool, and safe. Humidity and moisture are your worst enemies when it comes to copper, and if you ever find a 1937 wheat penny in pocket change, don't toss it aside. That little cent could be the beginning of a whole new passion, a hobby that connects you to history, stories, and a community of collectors who see value in the smallest details. You know what makes coin collecting so addictive? It's not just the money, it's the chase. The discovery. That thrilling moment when you flip a coin under the light, and your eyes catch something different. Something rare. Something special, and the 1937 wheat penny delivers just that feeling. Even after all these years, it continues to surprise collectors, show up in unexpected places, and bring smiles to those who understand its story. Some collectors even build entire wheat penny books, trying to fill every slot from 1909 to 1958. And when that 1937 penny slides into place, there's a sense of completion, of satisfaction, like one more piece of American history has been preserved forever. And you never know, that coin sitting in your drawer, or hiding in an old piggy bank, might just be a rare error penny worth far more than anyone expects. So next time you come across a wheat penny, stop. Look at it. Really look at it, because in a world that's rushing toward the future, sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones that remind us of the past. Now, let's talk value. If you find a circulated 1937 wheat penny, something that's been used in daily life, it may be worth a little more than face value to a beginner collector. But if you come across a sharp, uncirculated one, or even better, one with a dramatic error like a double die or a BIE mark, that's where the magic happens. Original market value prices can range from just under $1 for a circulated coin, to several $100s for rare mint state examples with striking errors, and in extremely rare cases, the most flawless, perfectly preserved 1937 wheat pennies have been known to fetch thousands at auction. All that, from a coin that once bought a stick of gum. So there you have it, the story of the 1937 wheat penny. A coin born in a world between two wars, carried through time by millions of hands, and still shining in the hearts of collectors today. Keep hunting. Keep collecting. And always remember, every coin tells a story. Top 2. There's something incredibly powerful about a coin minted during the final year of World War II. When you hold a 1945 wheat penny in your hand, you're not just holding copper, you're holding the echo of victory, the silent witness of a world on the edge of peace, a time when families were reuniting, soldiers were coming home, and hope was being rebuilt one moment at a time. That little penny traveled through pockets filled with tears and triumphs. It jingled in the hands of American citizens buying groceries with ration stamps. It slipped through the palms of kids running down wartime streets, and it helped rebuild a country just starting to breathe again. This is no ordinary coin. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny is a time machine, small in size but massive in meaning. Let's explore this piece of American soul, what makes it valuable, what rare mistakes to look out for, and why collectors today still chase after it like treasure hunters chasing gold. First, let's take a deep breath and imagine the year 1945. The war was ending. Germany surrendered in May. Japan in August. The world changed forever, and right here in the United States, life was in motion again, and flowing through that movement were the coins that kept the country going. including this humble 1-cent piece. Now on the front side of this penny, you'll find Abraham Lincoln's face, still steady, still solemn, facing right as he had since 1909. He saw the country through wars and peace, and in 1945, his image continued to represent strength and unity. Right behind him, you'll see the word Liberty, and to the right, the date, 1945, clean, clear, and full of history depending on where the coin was struck. You may also spot a tiny mint mark under the date. No mint mark means it was made in Philadelphia. A small d? That's Denver. A little s? That's San Francisco. Each mint left its fingerprint, and each version of this penny tells its own unique story. Flip it over and there it is, the iconic twin wheat stalks curling around the words 1 cent and United States of America. Above that, the motto E pluribus unum, out of many, one. A perfect message for a country coming together after years of fear and separation. But even in a year when millions of coins were made, some were born with beautiful mistakes, and that's where things get exciting. The 1945 wheat penny was struck in huge numbers. We're talking over 1 billion coins in total across all mints. That might make it sound common, but don't be fooled. What makes a coin valuable isn't always how few were made, it's how perfectly they were struck, or better yet, how imperfectly they were. Because in the world of collectors, errors are gold. Let's talk about the kinds of errors that can turn this penny from common to rare. One of the most loved and hunted mistakes in the 1945 wheat penny is the double die error. This happens when the coin die strikes the blank slightly off twice, and it leaves behind a ghostly doubling effect. You'll usually notice it in the date, or the word liberty, or in the motto in God we trust. If the letters look slightly doubled, not because of wear but because of misalignment, that's a double die, and that's money. Collectors go wild for those, because they're scarce, easy to miss, and look beautiful under magnification. Another incredible error is the off-center strike. Now imagine the coin didn't get struck right in the middle. Instead, the design shifted to one side, and part of it is missing or off balance. The more off-center it is, without losing the date, the more valuable it becomes. Then you've got die cracks. Over time, minting dies wear out, they crack, split, or crumble, and when that happens, lines start appearing on the coin in strange places. They may look like lightning bolts across Lincoln's face or lines stretching into the wheat stalks. Each crack is unique, no two are alike, and they're like the coin's personal birthmark. Some collectors specialize in these, and rare, dramatic die cracks can make your coin extremely desirable. There's also the famous lamination error. That's when the surface layer of the coin peels or flakes off during minting. It can look like a slice has come off the coin's face or back. These errors are strange, sometimes ugly, but very collectible, especially when dramatic and easy to spot. And then there's the BIE error, an old favorite among penny lovers. In this error, a small vertical die break appears between the B and E in liberty, forming what looks like a tiny I. So instead of liberty, it reads LIBERTY. These are playful, harmless errors, but coin lovers adore them and even try to collect all the different BIE varieties from different years. Now if you're wondering what to look for when you come across a 1945 wheat penny, here are some real-world, heartfelt tips straight from collectors who live and breathe this hobby. First, examine the coin under natural light or a coin lamp. Use a simple magnifier or jeweler's loupe and start by studying the date and the mint mark. Look for anything unusual, doubling, extra thickness in the numbers, ghost-like shadows, or strange spacing. Next, look for signs of damage versus signs of natural wear. A coin that's been dropped or scratched won't gain much value, but a coin with gentle wear from years of circulation, yet still showing strong detail, that's what you want. If the wheat stalks on the back are still visible from top to bottom, now that's a sign of quality. The more detail you see in Lincoln's cheekbone, jawline, and hair, the better. Try not to clean the coin, even if it looks dirty. Collectors value originality more than sparkle. Cleaning can leave microscopic scratches, and even one scrub can slash your coin's value. Always store your penny in a coin flip or protective holder. Keep it in a cool, dry place, away from humidity and air exposure. Copper is sensitive, it reacts with the world around it, and you want your coin to stay preserved, just like the day it was found. Another great tip, learn to identify fake errors. Some sellers will try to pass off post-mint damage as an error, but if you take the time to study genuine minting mistakes, you'll know what to avoid and what to chase. And if you ever find a 1945 wheat penny that just feels different, don't throw it into a jar or spend it without checking. That could be the coin that turns your collection into something unforgettable. For some collectors, it starts with just one coin, one spark of curiosity, and before they know it, they've built a lifetime of memories, history, and maybe even wealth. Now imagine this: you're digging through old change in a relative's drawer. Or maybe you're at a flea market, flipping through old coins in a dusty box. You spot a 1945 penny with a strong strike, full wheat stalks, and maybe even a weird little line in LIBRTY. You take it home, study it under light, and realize you found a double die or a lamination error. Your heart races a little, because right there in your palm is a piece of American story, and a possible hidden treasure. And guess what? That happens every day to collectors who know what to look for. So keep your eyes sharp, your passion strong, and your collection safe. Coins like the 1945 wheat penny remind us that history isn't always locked in books or museums. Sometimes it's in your pocket. And now, let's talk about the original market value of the 1945 wheat penny. If your penny is a common circulated version, worn from years of handling, it could be worth between a few cents to a little more than $1 to collectors starting out. But if it's in sharp condition, uncirculated, with strong luster and full details, that value can jump up to several dollars and beyond. And if you happen to find one with a rare error, like a dramatic double die or a major off-center strike, it can be worth $50, $100, or even hundreds of dollars depending on condition and rarity. And the most pristine mint state examples with perfect surfaces and powerful errors, they've reached values in the thousands at major auctions. All that, from a penny that once helped rebuild a country just beginning to breathe again. Thank you for watching, and never forget, every coin has a story, and every collector is just one coin away from discovering something amazing. Top 3. We are diving into the world of one of the most overlooked but truly fascinating coins in American history, the 1947 wheat penny. Now I know, it's just a 1-cent piece to some people, but trust me, this coin holds more value, more stories, and more heart than most people would ever imagine. And if you're someone who loves coins, history, or just the idea that something so small can carry a piece of time with it, then you're going to enjoy every single second of this story. The 1947 wheat penny might look like just another old coin sitting in a jar, but once you take a closer look, you'll see it's much more than copper. This little penny has survived generations. It has slipped through the hands of hardworking Americans. It passed through stores, pockets, farms, train stations, and even classrooms, and every single one of them added a little bit of life to its journey. Now think about this. The year was 1947. World War II had just ended 2 years before soldiers were finally home. Families were rebuilding, kids were growing up in a new, post-war America, and through all that rebuilding, this penny was right there, rolling across diner counters, paying for bubble gum, being dropped into metal cash registers by people just trying to make life feel normal again. That's what makes this coin so powerful. It's not just about how much it's worth, it's about what it's been through. So today, we're not just talking about money, we're talking about the story inside this coin, the secrets it hides, and the rare surprises that could turn this little copper piece into something worth way more than just 1 cent. Let's start with the design. Simple but iconic. The front side shows Abraham Lincoln, as always, calm, wise, and quietly strong. The same portrait that's been on the penny since 1909, honoring his legacy. To the left, you'll see the word LIBRTY. To the right, the year, 1947. Clear and strong. And just below that date, look closely, you might see a little letter. If there's a D, that means it was made in Denver. If there's an S, that's San Francisco. And if there's nothing at all, it came from Philadelphia. Each of those mints has their own story, and collectors sometimes chase all 3 to complete the set. Now flip it over and you'll see where the wheat penny gets its name. 2 tall stalks of wheat curling in from each side, hugging the bold words 1 cent and United States of America above it, e pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. That message still hits hard, doesn't it, especially for a country that was healing and reuniting after years of fear and war. Now let's talk about what makes the 1947 wheat penny special today. At first glance, it might seem common. Millions were made. That's true. Philadelphia struck over 190 million of them. Denver produced more than 194 million. San Francisco came in with nearly 99 million. So yeah, if you're just looking at the numbers, it might not sound rare, but here's the secret that most people miss. It's not always about how many were made, it's about how many survived in great shape and how many have rare errors. Those are the ones that make collectors' hearts race. Let's talk about the kinds of errors you want to be hunting for. One of the biggest and most valuable errors you can find on a 1947 wheat penny is a double die. This happens when the coin is stamped twice, just slightly off. It leaves a doubled effect in the letters or numbers, like ghost shadows in the date or the word. Liberty, it's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it, and that little mistake, it can boost the value of your penny big time. Another amazing error is the off-center strike. That's when the coin wasn't lined up properly before being hit, so the design ends up shifted to one side, sometimes only a little, sometimes dramatically off. Some coins might even be missing parts of the lettering. Because of it, those off-center coins are super collectible, especially when the date is still fully visible. Then there's the lamination error. These are caused when the metal surface of the coin starts to peel or crack during minting. It looks like the coin is flaking or splitting, but it's not damage from wear. It happened at the mint. Collectors love those because no two lamination errors are exactly the same. Each one is like a fingerprint. And then we've got the classic BAE error. If you ever see the word Liberty on your coin looking like Liberty, congratulations, you've found a die break between the B and I. It's a fun, quirky little mistake, and it's very collectible among penny lovers. Another one to watch out for is the die crack. These are raised lines on the coin, caused when the die used to strike the penny starts to wear down or crack. It might look like a scar running across Lincoln's face, or a line creeping into the wheat on the back. Each one adds character and serious collector value. Now, if you're someone who loves coins, here's a few tips to help you find the good stuff. Always check the coin under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Sometimes errors are so small you won't even notice them with the naked eye. Hold your coin under light, slowly tilt it back and forth, and pay close attention to the date, the words, the mint mark, and any unusual bumps or shadows. And please, whatever you do, never clean your coin even if it looks dirty or dull. Resist the urge to shine it up. Cleaning a coin actually damages it and drops its value instantly. Collectors want natural, untouched surfaces, even if they look a little worn. Also, store your coins safely. Use plastic flips, coin holders, or albums to protect them from air, moisture, and scratches. Copper is sensitive, and over time, exposure can ruin its color and value. If you ever come across a 1947 wheat penny that looks different, don't ignore it. Take your time, inspect it, and research it. You might have something special in your hands. And here's the truth: a lot of people have found rare errors hiding in plain sight, just sitting in jars, tucked in old wallets, stuck between couch cushions, or mixed in bags of coins from the bank. You don't have to be a professional to get lucky. You just have to know what to look for, and have the passion to go looking, because sometimes treasure really does come in copper. Now, if you're wondering what kind of value the 1947 wheat penny holds, let me tell you what it's worth in its original market. A regular, circulated penny from this year, the kind that's been used and worn, might sell for just a little more than 1 cent to beginner collectors. But if you have one in great condition, with original red color, no damage, and sharp details, it can be worth several dollars. And if you find one with a strong error, like a bold double die, dramatic off-center strike, or a rare BIE variety in top shape, the value can climb into the high double digits, and sometimes even a few $100s if it's pristine. The finest, most flawless examples, especially those graded by experts and protected for decades, have sold for well over $1,000 at auctions, all from a coin that originally bought a stick of gum. So next time you're sorting through change, or flipping through an old collection box, and you find a 1947 wheat penny, don't just toss it aside, because inside that little copper circle might be a story worth remembering, and a treasure worth keeping forever. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and join us again for more hidden treasures hiding in your pocket change. And remember, every coin has a past. Top 4. Have you ever held a coin and felt like you're holding a tiny echo of history, something that lived before you did, that existed during the hardest times, the loudest years, but somehow still found its way to your palm today? That's what the 1942 wheat penny feels like. This coin isn't just made of copper, it's made of war, of struggle, of hope, and of the quiet resilience of the American people during one of the darkest chapters in history. When you touch a 1942 wheat penny, you're touching the spirit of a world that was fighting to survive. You're holding the same kind of penny that sat in the pockets of factory workers, of soldiers on leave, of mothers keeping their families strong back home while the world was at war. This isn't just a coin, it's a message in metal. And if you're a collector, or even just someone who loves meaningful things, you're going to want to hear every part of its story. Now let's go back for a moment, not just to the year, but to the feeling of 1942. The world was in flames. America had just entered World War II in December of the previous year. People were uncertain, scared, but strong. Every part of life was affected, and yes, even coins had to adapt. The U.S. Mint knew copper was a critical material for the war effort. it was used in ammunition, wiring, communication, so the government began experimenting with new metals for coins, and though the full transition to steel pennies didn't happen until 1943, the 1942 wheat penny sits right at that turning point. That alone makes it important. It's a last breath of copper before the big change on the obverse. That's the front of the coin. We see President Abraham Lincoln, facing right, with deep lines etched into his face. His image had been on the penny since 1909, but in 1942, it meant something more. He was a symbol of unity. He had guided a nation through civil war, and now, his quiet strength was watching over another generation caught in a different kind of war. Just to the left of his collar, you'll spot the word LIBRTY. To the right, the date, 1942, and right beneath the date, a small mint mark might be there, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or no mark at all for Philadelphia. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted by two iconic wheat stalks curling along the edges between them, the bold words 1 cent and United States of America, and above all of that, three words that ring even louder during wartime, E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. That motto was more than words in those years. It was the core of what kept the country going. Now, if you're wondering what makes this coin valuable or worth collecting, let's talk about the rare features and beautiful minting mistakes that have made the 1942 wheat penny such a treasure among collectors. First, even though the 1942 penny was produced in large numbers, don't let that fool you. Philadelphia alone minted over 600 million. Denver followed with more than 200 million. San Francisco added over 85 million. So yes, they're out there, but most of them are long gone from circulation, used up, worn down, tossed aside, damaged over time, and that's exactly why finding a 1942 wheat penny in excellent condition is special. Now add in rare mint errors, and you've got something collectors dream of. Let's start with the double die. This error occurs when the coin is struck twice but slightly misaligned. It causes parts of the lettering or numbers to appear doubled, like you're seeing them through a reflection. If you spot this in the word Liberty, or in the date 1942, or even in E pluribus unum on the reverse, stop right there. You've got something rare. Next, the off-center strike. Imagine the coin was shifted during minting, and the die stamped the design way off to one side. Sometimes only a portion of Lincoln's face appears, sometimes part of the lettering is cut off. If the date is still visible, that off-center strike could fetch a higher value, especially if it's dramatic. Then there's the die crack error. That's when the die used to strike the coin starts to wear down or split slightly. These create raised, lightning-like lines across the surface of the coin. Some stretch across Lincoln's head, others branch into the wheat on the reverse. Each crack is unique, and that uniqueness drives value up for collectors who love hunting those small details. One of the most charming errors you might come across is the BE error. It's a tiny die break that shows up between the B and the E in Liberty, creating what looks like a capital I right in the middle. So instead of Liberty, it reads LIBRTY. These little quirks are part of what makes coin collecting so fun. They're accidental, but they feel like hidden signatures from the past. And let's not forget the lamination errors. These happen when the metal layers of the coin separate slightly, often flaking or peeling in thin layers. They usually appear on the obverse, sometimes on Lincoln's face or neck, and while they might look like damage, they're actually minting flaws, and quite collectible. If you're looking to start collecting or you already are deep in the hobby, here are a few honest tips straight from the heart of a fellow coin lover. First, patience is everything. You might go through hundreds of pennies and find nothing rare, and then suddenly, the next one changes your whole collection. Don't rush the process, enjoy the hunt. Second, never clean your coins. It doesn't matter how dirty they look, polishing them destroys original surfaces and hurts their value big time. Collectors want coins that are natural, with all their age and story intact. Third, use the right tools. A magnifying glass or a good jeweler's loupe is your best friend. It helps you spot doubling, tiny die cracks, or lamination that your eyes might miss. Fourth, protect your coins. Use coin flips, holders, or albums to store them safely. Copper coins like the 1942 wheat penny can darken or corrode if they're exposed to air, moisture, or dirt for too long. And finally, learn to love the history. Every coin has a moment frozen inside it, and the more you understand what was happening in that year, the more alive that coin becomes. The 1942 wheat penny is a piece of America, molded in war, circulated in hope, and preserved by people like us who see its value now. If you're still wondering what the 1942 wheat penny is worth in today's market, let me break it down as simply and honestly as I can. If you've got a regular, well-worn 1942 wheat penny with no errors and heavy circulation, it may be worth Just a little above 1 cent to a beginner collector, but if you find a sharper one, maybe one that still has full detail in the wheat stalks, or a bit of its original red luster, that value can jump to several dollars depending on the condition. And if you happen to get lucky, and discover a rare error, like a strong double die, bold die crack, or dramatic off-center strike, that single penny could be worth anywhere from $10 to $50, or even $100 or more, especially in higher grades. And yes, some of the most flawless 1942 wheat pennies with certified mint state condition and beautiful errors have sold for hundreds and even over $1,000 at collector auctions. That's the magic of coins. They not just metal, they memory, and every once in a while, they turn out to be treasure. So the next time you're digging through a jar of old change, or flipping through your grandparents' drawer, or just get handed a weird old penny as change, look closely, because that 1942 wheat penny in your hand might be more than just old. It might be a story worth keeping, a piece of time worth holding, and a silent reminder that even the smallest things can survive the biggest moments. Top 5. Imagine holding a coin that was born in the middle of one of the most intense years of the 20th century. Not just any year, 1944. The world was still deep in the grip of World War II, soldiers were fighting across Europe and the Pacific, families back home were rationing everything from sugar to gasoline, and in the middle of it all, the United States Mint was still doing what it's done for over a century, striking coins to keep the nation moving. Among those coins, one little copper penny carried more than just a monetary value. It carried the weight of history, the rhythm of resilience, and the touch of time. The 1944 wheat penny wasn't just a piece of change, it was a quiet companion to war letters, factory lunches, pay envelopes, and candy bought by kids trying to forget what was going on overseas. Today, that same penny might be resting in someone's drawer or tucked away in a dusty coin jar, just waiting to be rediscovered. But what makes this coin so interesting? Why does the 1944 wheat penny still get collectors excited after all these years? And could one of these little coins in your hand be worth more than anyone ever expected? Let's find out together. The obverse side of this coin, the front, shows the classic, always respected portrait of President Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the same quiet determination he had back in 1909 when his image first appeared on the penny. To the left of Lincoln, you'll see the word Liberty, bold and proud. To the right, the date, 1944, crisp and straight from the mint. And just under the date, you might see a tiny letter. If it's a D, it was minted in Denver. If it's an S, it came from San Francisco. If there's no mint mark at all, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. Flip the coin to the reverse side and you'll see what gives this penny its most beloved nickname, the wheat penny. Two graceful wheat stalks curve upward on both sides, framing the strong words 1 cent and United States of America. And just above that, the powerful national motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one that was more than a slogan. In 1944 it was a hope, a truth the country was holding on to as sons and brothers and husbands were overseas fighting for a better future. Now here's where things get even more interesting, because while millions of these coins were made, and yes, there were a lot, it's the details that make them special. The Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 1 billion wheat pennies in 1944. Denver added more than 430 million. San Francisco struck over 282 million. That makes the 1944 penny one of the most produced coins of its time. But here's the secret that every serious collector knows: even with high mintage numbers, not all coins are created equal. The real magic is in the details, in condition, in mistakes, and in rarity. And 1944 has one of the most famous, mysterious, and valuable minting stories of all time. See, in 1943, to support the war effort, the mint had shifted from copper to zinc-coated steel for 1 year. Those 1943 steel cents were lighter and silver in color, but in 1944, the mint went back to using copper again, though it wasn't the exact same kind as before. The copper used in 1944 pennies came mostly from recycled ammunition shells, literally scrap metal from war. That fact alone gives the 1944 wheat penny emotional weight. You're not just holding money, you're holding part of a bullet casing from a battlefield somewhere far from home. Now here comes the twist: a few coins from 1944 were accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. That means a tiny number of 1944 pennies aren't copper at all, they're grayish steel. Those coins are extremely rare, so rare that only a handful have been confirmed. If you ever come across a 1944 penny that looks silver or gray instead of brown or reddish, hold on to it. Test it with a magnet, because copper isn't magnetic, but steel is that one small detail could mean you found one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever minted. But that's not the only error that makes the 1944 wheat penny fascinating. There are other mistakes collectors dream of finding. Let's talk about the double die. This is one of the most exciting errors in coin collecting. It happens when the die strikes the coin twice, just slightly off. It causes letters or numbers to appear doubled, especially the date or the word liberty. If your 1944 penny shows a shadowed, doubled effect on the date or lettering, it's no ordinary coin, it's a gem. Another rare and beautiful error is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank coin is not perfectly aligned with the press. The result? The design is pushed off to one side, and part of it might even be missing. The more off-center it is, without cutting off the date, the more collectors want it. Next up, die cracks. These are thin, raised lines on the coin's surface, caused when the die used to strike the coin starts to fracture. They can look like lightning bolts across Lincoln's cheek, or sharp lines running across the wheat stalk. Some collectors hunt for die cracks like detectives. Every one is unique. Then we have lamination errors. These happen when the metal of the coin peels or flakes slightly due to impurities or bonding issues during minting. It creates a rough, jagged surface, and while it might look like damage, it's actually a rare mint flaw. Lamination errors are highly collectible when they're obvious and dramatic. And don't forget the fun BIE error. This is a small die break that appears between the B and the E in the word liberty, forming what looks like a tiny capital I. So instead of liberty, you get liberty. It's a charming little quirk, and one that's been seen on many wheat pennies, including 1944. Now if you're a collector, or you want to be, here are some heartfelt tips that come from years of learning and digging through boxes of coins. First, always use a good magnifier or jeweler's loupe. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it will help you catch those tiny errors that can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable one. Second, check under good lighting. Natural light is great, but a simple desk lamp works too. Hold the coin at different angles, tilt it slowly, and look carefully at the date, the mint mark, and every detail on Lincoln's face and coat. Third, never clean your coins. It might be tempting, especially if they look dirty or dark, but cleaning ruins the natural surface of a coin and can slash its value. Collectors love originality, even if that means a little dirt and age. Fourth, store your coins safely. Use coin flips, albums, or capsules to protect them from air and moisture. Copper can darken over time, especially if left exposed. And finally, fall in love with the story, not just the money. Every coin tells a tale, and the 1944 wheat penny, it tells one of survival, sacrifice, and second chances. You never know what treasure you might find in an old penny jar. Maybe it's one with a sharp strike, a rare mint mark, a dramatic error, or just one that's been waiting for someone like you to notice it. Now, if you're wondering how much this coin is worth, here's the truth. If you have a regular, circulated 1944 wheat penny, the kind found in everyday pocket change, it might be worth just slightly more than 1 cent to a beginner collector. But if your coin has full details, strong luster, and has never been handled or cleaned, its value can climb to several dollars or more. And if you're lucky enough to have one with a rare error, like a doubled die, a clear off-center strike, a dramatic die crack, or that legendary 1944 steel penny, that single coin could be worth $50, $100, several hundred, or even over $1,000 in the right condition. All that from a penny that was once used to buy a newspaper, a piece of candy, or maybe sent home in the pocket of a soldier returning from war. So next time you find a 1944 wheat penny, hold on to it a little longer, because it's not just a coin, it's a story, and some stories are worth more than we'll ever know. If this touched your heart or sparked your curiosity, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who still believes in the magic of old coins. There's still treasure out there. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, right in the palm of your hand.